Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 7 of the Nothing to See Here podcast, the final in our week-long introduction to the show. It's Frankie.
It's Hannah.
Uh, and it's Amanda. Actually, no, I'm Jack Nicholson.
Why Jack Nicholson?
I don't know. I'm just feeling sparky today.
Fucking God.
It's not even related to today's episode or your
took-
current mental emotional state.
You took time to think about it, went to Amanda, and then came back with Jack Nicholson.
I don't know.
Once again,
I
there
did.
was
I
a
did
joke.
watch.
There was a
I watched-
joke sitting right there for you, and you didn't take it.
I don't know. I feel like saying I'm Shaggy. I'm Velma. I'm Scooby. Yeah, no. Jack Nicholson. I don't know. I also just watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest this past weekend.
Good movie.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad.
To be fair, Frankie, I am a therapist, so it's bad, a bad depiction of mental health, but a good movie overall. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. This is it, as I said earlier in the intro. Final episode for our introductory week.
I'm sad. I'm gonna miss daily uploads. I say as I don't have to edit the podcast.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
Frankie saying
Frankie
that
says
will never
you
happen.
are not going to miss it.
After this, we talked about this amongst ourselves. We'll be uploading on Wednesdays.
Hump day.
Hump day, yeah. We'll help get you through the rest of the week. Help get you into the weekend with some fun.
We will not sing "My Humps" by the Black Eyed Peas, though. Sorry.
No.
We do not want to get a copyright claim.
Not only that, it's just a shitty song
All right. Well, I don't know why the Black Eyed Peas are catching strays.
because they're sellouts.
Do you also want to fight them in the Denny's parking lot?
No, just Fergie mainly.
Okay.
Just Fergie.
Why
Just
just Fergie though?
Her horrible, horrible national anthem.
It was years ago. We gotta get over it. We gotta move on.
She also left the Black Eyed Peas, so she left the sellouts.
We gotta move on
If
as
you're
a
gonna be a
society.
sellout, just be a sellout.
No, we gotta move on as a society.
I don't want to. I hold grudges.
We got to. We gotta move on.
I hold grudges.
Well,
I'm gonna hold the fact that you blew me off yesterday.
all right, I
forever.
didn't blow you off. I didn't. Oh my fucking God. Jesus Christ. Okay. We're here to start. I was gonna say the first, but this is really the second of our big projects on the show.
It is our first one as a group.
Yeah, Amanda kind of swerved in episode 5 and introduced her own big project.
That's gonna take years.
This is also gonna not quite as long. There's not as many Scooby-Doo films and TV shows as Disney animated films.
Oh, not just animated films.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're doing the live action shit too.
Are we doing DComs?
Yeah, we're doing all of them.
All of them. Every Disney movie in existence.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm kind of excited for the 90s and 2000s
I know.
DComs though.
I know.
Like I was thinking about those the other day because I was actually
Luckily,
thinking about this question of are you going to cover DComs? Oh, I'm excited now. Wake me in 20 years when we get to the 90s and 2000s on this
Yeah.
podcast.
We'll put Hannah into cryogenic slumber.
Can I be next to Walt Disney's head?
Yes.
Cool.
And then we'll wake you up when we get to the decoms.
Okay,
It
cool.
It doesn't have his head is not frozen.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we all know
No.
that. We all know they like punted it off into space.
It's it punted it into space.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, we're here today to start, like I said, our first big group project. We're gonna be reviewing all of Scooby-Doo. Not every episode. That's too much. That's insanity. And if we did that, we never get to the fun stuff, like Witch Island and the live action movies.
I mean, we would. We'd just be old.
Yeah. So instead, we're going to take a couple episodes from each series and then every single movie that they've done and talk about that. And so, of course, we start with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
The OG.
the original. The way these episodes are going to be structured is I will do some research on the background of the show or the movie development, stuff like that. And then one of us will take either an episode or the movie and do the plot of it and then talk about it as a Scooby-Doo project and how we like it compared to the rest. So we have 2 episodes to review today. The first ever episode of Scooby-Doo in anything. What a night for a night.
Actually, before we start, I have a question for you guys
No.
about Scooby-Doo.
Oh, all right, yeah, I'm
Oh,
ready.
okay.
What is your relationship with Scooby-Doo? Like, did you watch it growing up?
Damn it, you jumped in.
Frankie, would you like to go first?
Sure, I did. I did watch it growing up. I would see like the old episodes of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? On Cartoon Network used to air them.
Yeah.
Yes,
When
they
they
aired them at
aired-
like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like Courage and Tom and Jerry and all that shit.
Yeah, I would watch it, and then I would I remember watching endlessly the first live action movie
Fantastic movie.
of Scooby-Doo. I also remember watching endlessly when they relaunched Scooby-Doo in like animated. So they made the movie. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say Curse of the Vampire, the one where they're in Australia.
Yeah,
And
the
the
Legend of
Hex-
the Vampire.
Legend of the Vampire, and it's the Hex Girls are back, and they do like it's a music festival in Australia. I remember watching that a lot. I had that on DVD, and I watched a lot of What's New Scooby-Doo because that also came alongside with the new movies that were coming out. I remember in high school at one point, Cartoon Network was like re-airing all the movies starting with Legend of the Vampire, so I would like try to watch all that I could. And most importantly, I think for me, is I had a videotape from when I was in elementary school, and every
A
time I was
VHS
sick,
videotape.
yes, and
We're old.
I cannot remember the name of it, but it was whenever I was sick from school, my parents or my neighbors would pick me up, and I would take it over. They would take me over to my house, and like I'd grab a couple videotapes, and we would watch. Or I would take them over to their house, and it was a winter one, and it was all like winter and snow themed, like random episodes of Scooby Doo.
That's so
compilation.
fun.
It was. I
So
enjoyed it a lot.
you're a fan.
I'm a
You're a
huge fan of Scooby Doo.
Amanda,
So,
are you a fan of Scooby-Doo?
I am. Like Frankie, I did grow up with Scooby-Doo. I don't know if some of you heard this maybe during our last podcast, depending on what Frankie said it out. My mother is very much into Scooby-Doo, our very own Monique Peanut Gallery, who is not joining us today. But she kind of raised me with it. My dad would get me a lot of the Scooby-Doo movies. So I actually started the Scooby-Doo series show thing that I remember the most was actually A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, which technically aired in 1991, but they had reruns in 97, 98, 99, early 2000s. So I started with A Pup Named Scooby-Doo and went backwards kind of. But I watched a lot of the movies. One of my absolute favorites is Cyber Chase. When the live action came out in 2000, I remember going to see it 3 times with my mom, my dad, and then I convinced my grandma and aunt to take me because I liked it so much. I really enjoyed it. I actually also grew up with there was the CD-ROMs, these Scooby-Doo CD-ROM games that I used to play. One of them was like the Stone Dragon one. The other one was like the Phantom Knight and Showdown in Ghost Town. That one was fun. But the earliest one that I played was It was something about a fun park. Let me look this up real quick. Because I loved it so much that I ended up buying it later on in life. And when I say later on in life, I mean when I was like 22. So I still have it. Let me see. Mystery of the Fun Park Phantom. That's what it was called. And it's basically you are exploring this amusement park, and your job is it's a turn-based game, and you can play with up to 5 people. No, 4 people. You can play with up to 4 people because Scooby-Doo kind of helps everybody. And you have to pick up items for specific traps at specific locations, and then set your trap for the Phantom, and then guess who it was. One of my absolute favorite games. That and was it Mystery Mayhem? Was that it? It was for the GameCube. Yeah, Mystery Mayhem. So I very much enjoy Scooby-Doo. I grew up with it, played the games with it. Still follow it. Like if I ever I see what's going on, I see what's happening. The new movies more so than like the shows, but we'll see. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated though. That came out in like 2010. Yeah. That was awesome.
That is a
And
good adaptation.
I remember playing the online game that went with it. So like every week you'd unlock like the monster for the next game. It was awesome. I very much enjoy Scooby-Doo for sure. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to tear the early seasons apart because I will.
That's
Do
so
I
rude
like
of
them?
you.
Well, I love them, but
They're
I'll
simplistic in nature.
I'll save it. I'll save it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm also a huge fan of Scooby-Doo. We all are. I feel like growing up in the early to mid 2000s, like we were really in a golden age of Scooby-Doo where Cartoon Network was rerunning the original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Scooby-Doo, the new Scooby-Doo films. And then you also had like Zombie Island, The Witch's Ghost on reruns every weekend. And we also then proceeded to get the new movies starting with Legend of the Vampire and
Yeah.
What's New Scooby-Doo. I think we were in a golden age almost for Scooby-Doo in that time period growing up.
Hmm.
I remember forcing my parents to take me to see the live action films when they dropped in theaters. And my parents were not pleased because movies are not good.
Hmm.
Arguably, they are not good. But I love Scooby-Doo so much. My parents, when we were getting a new dog, they let me name it. And so his name was Scooby. I had a Scooby-Doo, not a Great Dane, it was a corgi, but I had a Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, so we all love Scooby-Doo, it seems. As I was saying, we'll go into the history of the series, of each different version of it, and then we will have discuss it. So the first episode of the show ever is the first one we'll discuss. What a Night for a Night, and Amanda will be discussing that
Hmm.
one. And then we have the final episode of the original run, Don't Fool with a Phantom, and Hannah, you'll be discussing that.
Mm-hmm.
But how was Scooby-Doo Where You Created? And some of these histories will be a bit longer than others. Like this one will be a bit longer than some of the other histories, just because it's the first one and they have more to talk about. So, how was Scooby-Doo created? In 1968, parent-run organizations, particularly Action for Children's Television, began protesting what they saw as excessive violence on Saturday morning cartoons. Most of these shows were the Hanna-Barbera action cartoons like Space Ghost, the Herculoids, and Birdman and the Galaxy Trio. And
Fucking Birdman.
yeah, virtually all of them were canceled by 1969 because of this pressure. Members of the watch groups became advisors to Hanna-Barbera and other animation studios to ensure that new programs would be safe for children. Fred Silverman, the executive for daytime programming at CBS at the time, was looking for a show that would revitalize Saturday morning and please the watch groups. The result was The Archie Show, based on the comic book Archie. Successful in the show were the musical numbers that the Archies, the band, performed during each program. Eager to build on this success, Silverman contacted William Hanna and Joseph Barbera about creating another show based on a teenage rock group, but this time featuring teens who solved mysteries in between gigs. He envisioned the show as a cross between the popular I Love a Mystery radio serials of the 1940s and the Archie characters of the early 1960s television show and the show The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Barbara attempted to develop his own version of the show called House of Mystery, while Hannah would produce it. But they then passed the task along to story writers Joe Ruby and Ken Spears, as well as artist character designer Iwao Takamoto. Their treatment, based in part on the Archie show, was entitled Mysteries 5 and featured 5 teenagers: Jeff, Mike, Kelly, Linda, and Linda's brother WW, along with their
.com.
no, just WW, along with their bongo playing dog Too Much.
Why does Too Much sound like a stoner?
The dog himself is a stoner.
Yep.
He is playing bongos.
The bongos is what sold me.
When the Mystery Five, the name of the band, were not performing gigs, they were out solving spooky mysteries involving ghosts, zombies, and other supernatural creatures. Ruby and Spears were unable to decide whether Too Much would be a large, cowardly dog or a small, feisty one. They inevitably chose Too Much to be a Great Dane, but later revised him to be a large sheepdog just before they presented the show, as Ruby feared the character would be too similar to Marmaduke. This pitch was rejected, and after consulting with Barbera on next steps, they got permission to go ahead with Too Much being a Great Dane. So during the design phase of the show, Takamoto consulted a studio colleague who was a breeder of Great Danes, and after learning the characteristics of what a prize-winning Great Dane was supposed to be, Takamoto proceeded to break all of those rules and gave Too Much overly bowed legs, a double chin, and a sloped back. The
That's
second
no dog, though.
they made him ugly.
No, they didn't make him ugly. They made him probably in pain.
That's true. Ruby and Spears had a second pass at the show using Dobie Gillis as the template more than Archie. The treatment retained the dog Too Much and reduced the number of teenagers to 4, removing the Mike character, but keeping Jeff, Kelly, Linda, and WW. The names later were modified. Jeff became Ronnie and then became Fred at Silverman's behest. Kelly became Daphne, Linda became Velma, and WW became Shaggy. The revised show was repitched to Silverman, who liked the material but disliked the name Mysteries 5, and he decided to call the show Who's Scared?
Honestly, that's a terrible name.
It's worse than Mysteries 5.
Like Mystery 5, you kind of know what you're getting.
So Silverman presented the show to the CBS executives as the centerpiece for the upcoming 1969 season Saturday morning cartoon block. And CBS president Frank Stanton felt that the presentation artwork was too scary for children and thought the show would be the same, and passed. Without a centerpiece for the upcoming programming season, Silverman had Ruby, Spears, and the Hanna-Barbera staff revise the treatments to tone down the show and better reflect its comedy elements. The rock band element was dropped completely, and more attention was focused upon Shaggy and Too Much. According to Ruby and Spears, Silverman was inspired by Frank Sinatra's scat Doobie Doobie Doo at the end of his recording of Strangers in the Night on a red-eye flight to one of the meetings, and decided to rename the dog Scooby-Doo, retitling the show as well to Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The revised show...
A legend was born.
A legend was born on a red-eye flight because of Frank Sinatra.
Thank you, Frank Sinatra.
This revised show was represented to CBS executives who approved it for production. The first episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? What a Night for a Night debuted on Saturday, September 13th, 1969. The original voice cast featured Don Messick as Scooby-Doo, Casey Kasem as Shaggy, Frank Welker as Fred, Nicole Jaffe as Velma, and Indira Stefaniana as Daphne. Scooby's speech patterns closely resembled Astro from the Jetsons, who was also voiced by Don Messick. 17 episodes of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Were produced in 1969 and 1970, and the series theme song was written by David Mook and Ben Raleigh and performed by Larry Marks. Each of the episodes written featured Scooby and the 4 teenage members of Mystery Inc., arriving at a location in the Mystery Machine, encountering a ghost, monster, or other supernatural creature terrorizing the local populace, and they decide to investigate. The kids split up to look for clues and suspects while being chased at turns by the monster, eventually coming to realize the ghost and other paranormal activity is actually an elaborate hoax, and often with a trap designed by Fred, they capture the villain and unmask him, revealed as a flesh and blood crook trying to cover up crimes by using a ghost story and costume. The criminal is arrested and taken to jail, often with the catchphrase, "If it weren't for those meddling kids."
Iconic. All of it. Iconic.
Scooby-Doo debuted against another teenage mystery-solving show on ABC, The Hardy Boys. And Scooby-Doo became a immediate ratings success. Nielsen ratings at the time reported that as many as 65% of the Saturday morning audience were tuned into CBS when Scooby-Doo was being broadcast, and the show was renewed for a second season in 1970, for which only 8 episodes were produced. 7 of these 8 episodes featured chase sequences set to bubblegum pop songs recorded by Austin Roberts, who also re-recorded the theme song for this season. Stefaniana, the voice of Daphne at the time, married and retired from voice acting, and so the role went to Heather North, who would continue to voice the character until 1997. The TV influences of I Love a Mystery and Dobie Gills were apparent in the first episodes to audiences at the time. Of the similarities between the Scooby-Doo teens and the Dobie Gillis teens, the similarities between Shaggy and Maynard were the most noticeable. Both characters share the same beatnik-style goatee, similar hairstyles, and hippie demeanors. The core premise of Scooby-Doo Where Are You was also similar to Enid Blyton's famous 5 books. Both series featured 4 use with a dog, and the famous 5 often revolved around a mystery which invariably turned out to not be supernatural, but a ruse to disguise the villain's true intent. The role of each character was strongly defined early in the series, with Fred as the leader and determined detective, Vella the intelligent analyst, Daphne the danger-prone, Shaggy a coward more motivated by hunger than any desire to solve mysteries, and Scooby similar towards Shaggy, except for a Bob Hope-inspired tendency to temporary bravery.
I think you missed the part where you were supposed to call Shaggy a stoner.
Yes, Shaggy the stoner.
Yeah, that's it.
That actually is such a misconception, though, because if you talk to like the original creators, they were like, that actually wasn't what we were trying to do.
Truly, Shaggy in the original is not a stoner.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that, I'm sure, a little bit later.
Later versions of the show would slightly revise these characters' established roles, such as showing Daphne in the late 90s and 2000s as knowing many forms of karate and having the ability to defend herself, reducing her tendency towards being kidnapped. Scooby-Doo itself would go on to influence many of the other Saturday morning cartoons of the 1970s. During that decade, Hanna-Barbera and its rivals produced several programs, also featuring teenage detectives solving mysteries with a pet or mascot of some sort, including Josie and the Pussycats, the Funky Phantom, the Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan, Speed Buggy, Goober and the Ghost Chasers, Jabberjaw, and Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels.
I don't know which one I like the most.
I'm a fan of the Funky Phantom.
Funky Phantom and the one with the dune buggy are kind of up there for me.
The Caveman makes no sense. Caveman and Teen Angels.
I just imagine Charlie's Angels and then a caveman.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Captain Caveman? He's a funky little fella.
No, and I don't want to.
Well, you will eventually. He's in the movie Scoob.
Jesus
He
Christ.
also makes an appearance in Scooby, the Mystery Incorporated series.
Mm-hmm.
It also has the Funky Phantom and the Dune Buggy. That's a good episode, but not what we're talking about today.
So, Scooby-Doo creators Joe Ruby and Ken Spears served as the story supervisors on these series. Ruby, Spears, and Bill Lutz wrote all of the script for the 17 first season episodes, while Lutz, Lars Bourne, and Tom DeGenis wrote the 8 second season episodes with Ruby and Spears as story editors. The plot varied little from episode to episode with a very similar 6-step concept. The gang is driving the mystery machine when the van breaks down for any variety of reasons.
That doesn't happen.
Immediate vicinity. It does not. This script does not happen in either of the episodes we watched.
Honestly, half the time they just stop.
Yeah,
They're just on a pit stop. It's not that the van breaks down. They stop.
Their unintended destination turns out to be suffering from a monster problem, and they volunteer to investigate.
Of course they do.
The gang splits up to cover more ground, with Fred and Velma finding clues, Daphne finding danger, and Shaggy and Scooby finding food, fun, and the monster who chases them. Eventually, enough clues are found to convince the gang that the ghost or monster is a fake. Fred develops a much too complex trap to capture it, only for it to invariably go awry. Or the gang goes to call the local sheriff, only to get stopped by the villain halfway. Eventually, the ghost or monster is apprehended and discovered to be a person in disguise, and it turns out to be an unsuspected authority figure or innocuous local using the disguise to cover something up. After giving the parting shot of, and I've gotten away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids, the offender is taken away to jail, and the gang is allowed to continue on the way to their destination. Studio musical director Ted Nichols wrote an instrumental theme for the show, which was the original theme for the opening credits and under the title cards for the premiere episode. The version we watched has the iconic theme, which was originally only the closing theme of the show. And that iconic theme was recorded only 3 days before the show premiered. After Nichols' theme was used as both the opening and closing theme for the second episode, the iconic theme became the permanent opening credits scene and also heard as the closing credits theme on all but 3 episodes of the entire series. Nichols' original theme, however, is the theme that is under the title card for each episode. So that little piano title card that they have, the longer version of that was originally the entire theme song.
I mean, no offense to the little instrumental, but I'm glad it got changed. Because the little instrumental is also kind of iconic in its own way.
Yeah, the little.
It's ingrained in the DNA of Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
No, that one.
In addition to the incidental music written specifically for the show, stock music composed by Nichols for previous Hanna-Barbera television shows also saw wide implementation. The second season featured bubblegum chase scene songs produced by La La Productions. These songs, I know. These songs were written by Danny Jansen and Austin Roberts and were performed by Roberts, who also made a new recording of the Scooby-Doo Where Are You theme song for the second season. Before I get into it, which version do you prefer, the original or the Austin Roberts version?
I have to go back and listen.
Yeah, I would have to compare.
I like the original better. Austin Roberts sounds more like a boy band from the era.
I don't know if I've heard the Austin Roberts one, if I'm honest.
If you watch the second episode on Tubi, it does have a clear difference.
I'd have to watch them both back to back.
The series theme song, though, Scooby-Doo Where Are You, has been covered by several subsequent artists, including Matthew Sweet for the 1995 TV special and album Saturday Morning Cartoons Greatest Hits, Third Eye Blind for the 1998 film Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, and the 2003 film Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico, Billy Ray Cyrus for Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Fuck off.
Wait, Billy Ray Cyrus does
Hannah Montana's daddy.
I know who Billy Ray Cyrus is, yes.
He does the theme for Witch's Ghost.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to that.
Jennifer Love Hewitt for Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders. The B-52s for Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. MXPX for the live-action Scooby-Doo film. And Crystal Harris for Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire. What was that?
I do have the B-52s one.
It is a good version.
What about the Hex Girls? You never mentioned them.
I did not mention the Hex Girls. I'm sorry. I apologize to the Hex Girls.
That is the most iconic cover ever done of the song.
Scooby-Doo Where Are You also utilized a laugh track, a common feature in most animated TV series until the late 1970s. It was...
Amanda is not a fan.
I'm going to make my own track. It's going to be called a grown track.
Originally, when the show reached syndication, the laugh track was removed in the 1980s. But following Turner's purchase of Hanna-Barbera and its networks, TBS, TNT, and Cartoon Network, the laugh track was reinstated in 1997.
Bad choice.
It's aggressive.
Bad choice.
So how was Scooby-Doo Where Are You received?
Are you asking me how I received it?
No, I'm going to tell you how it was received.
I'm guessing
it been 10 out of 10.
It was a huge hit. It was a huge
Yeah.
hit. It led Hanna-Barbera to eventually create series with similar concepts, as I said, for ABC, NBC, CBS. I mentioned some of them. Here's some more that I didn't mention. The Pebbles
No.
and Bam Bam Show,
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Inch High Private Eye,
Also off. Fuck off.
Clue Club,
Say that
and
5 times fast.
The New Schmoo. Everyone's
That's not
favorite
real.
show. It is real.
That is
Hannah,
not real.
it's
That's
very
not
real.
Real thing.
The New Schmoo, very real.
Please spell that.
SHMOO. If you want a description of Shmoo, he is
No.
a friendly, bulbous creature who can stretch and shape his body into any form he wants.
Awesome. Schmoo
Yeah.
I
sounds
wish to
like
unlearn
the
this. I wish
word.
to unlearn this.
It sounds... Also, the way you describe Schmoo kind of sounds like a sex toy.
In 2005, Scooby-Doo Where Are You was ranked 49th in Channel 4's 100 Greatest Cartoons in the UK. And more recently was voted the 8th greatest kids TV show by viewers of the same channel. And it was ranked the 24th greatest cartoon on IGN's top 100 animated series list.
Right underneath Yu-Gi-Oh. Just kidding.
So just a few fun facts about the episodes that we're going to review today. What a Night for a Night aired for the first time on September 13th, 1969.
That's a good date.
The gang's names are revealed in the following order: Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, and Velma. Fred is not actually named in the entirety of the episode. And he was still referred to on the storyboards as Ronnie, one of his working names. So we could have had Ronnie instead of Fred.
Ronnie sounds like a weak bitch, which honestly, Fred's kind of a weak bitch. I don't know which one I would prefer.
I prefer Fred.
Fred.
And Daphne is the first character on the entire show to say, "Scooby-Doo, where are you?"
That is
Good
true.
for her.
And then episode 25 of the show, Don't Fool with a Phantom, aired October 30th, 1970. This is the last regular use of a chase song in the show, of any Scooby-Doo show, until A Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
Fuck yeah.
This is also the final Scooby-Doo episode to use Charlie Douglas's full laugh track.
Fuck off. Good.
After the series ended, they would use a limited laugh track for all subsequent incarnations through 1980. This time, Velma is the character to say they have a mystery to solve instead of Fred.
Way to go, Velma.
This is the first mention in all of the show of one of the gang's parents. In this case, Shaggy mentions his mother. And this is the first time in the entirety of the show that Shaggy is directly offered a Scooby snack. In 2 previous episodes, he would take them as a kind of compensation, but this is the first time that any of the characters directly offered the man dog food.
They
I
learned.
love that from him. I love that for him.
With that, we have our first episode. Amanda,
So-
tell us about this night.
So we start off with a guy driving a truck. He's got a mustache. Then all of a sudden, in the truck bed is this box, and the box opens, and this knight comes out in full ass armor. Okay, and then we cut to Scooby and Shaggy walking, just in the fucking middle of the woods, because they're coming back from a movie. They're coming back late from a movie because Scooby-Doo wanted to see this movie twice because it had a dog on it. Scooby-Doo finds Frog. He chases that frog. He chases the frog all the way to this truck that is now sitting abandoned. I will say, one of the few times that I laughed was when Scooby-Doo just full on stops when he's chasing the frog, and Shaggy trips underneath him, like over top of him, and he turns to him and he says, like, "Next time signal," which I was like, that's pretty good. So they look in, they see the knight, they like poke him, I think. No, I don't even think they touch him, actually. I think his head just kind of wobbles off and freaks him out, and they dash out of there.
I'd like to know where that knight got his driver's license from.
Yeah, who knows?
He was sitting in the driver's seat.
So instead of going back home and forgetting everything, No. He calls his friends back. And he's like, what's this doing here? What's this? He didn't even call the cops either.
I'm sorry, would you not investigate that? Would you not be intrigued by finding a truck? An
You're not
abandoned
gonna call
truck?
me and Frankie. Well, you're like, hey, guess what I just found?
Abso-fucking-lutely not. No, I'm
You-
going home.
I'd call Hannah, at least then.
I was
I'm
gonna
going
say, I
home.
would call Amanda. And then Amanda would call Frankie.
I would do no such thing.
See, that's why I've said I
Okay,
wouldn't
now
call you now.
if I find something weird in the woods, I'm calling Frankie and not you then.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna call Hannah now.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the box and it says, delivered to Jameson Hyde White, the professor of archaeology, London, England. Vilma has to tell Shaggy and Scooby that it's an English name. So they go to the museum.
We'll get into it later, but Shaggy is the athlete, not the brainiac.
Yeah, Shaggy's an athlete. He's a fucking gymnast.
He should also know that names are just fucking names. They go to the museum and we meet our one and only suspect. You have this huge list of suspects. I wonder who it could be. We meet one person that's not part of the gang. It's got to be this dude.
It could have been the frog.
It also could have been the professor because we did see him driving. But honestly,
we also saw him get attacked by the knight, though.
Yeah, exactly. But this guy just has thick kind of voice.
What was that?
I'm not going to do it again.
Can you do that again, please?
No, please repeat that.
I'm not
My audio cut out. Please repeat that.
What did he sound like? What did he sound like? Yeah, I gotta edit back in. So
no, I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it again. This is what happens when you ditch me. Not doing it again.
Oh my god. Oh.
Well, you just told us not to call you if we find an abandoned car in the woods.
That's not ditching me.
She's not talking about that. She's talking about this weekend. I'm not. Stop it. Stop it. Get over it. Grow up.
All right. This little nerdy, meek little weirdo, and our only suspect talks about, hey guys, the professor disappeared, and there's this legend that the night comes alive on the full moon. And Shaggy goes, last night was the full moon, because this is the next day, by the way. Last night was the full moon. So then they decide they're going to break and enter into the museum because Scooby finds these weird little magnifying glasses on this statue.
Yeah, jeweler's glasses.
Well, he stole them, first of all.
Yeah, he's a thief.
They're going to return them.
He did. He stole them.
But he is a dog, so deniability, plausible deniability.
Well, they research this, right? They go to the library, of course, to research this, and they're like, these glasses are only made in England, so we have to investigate.
Bullshit. That is bullshit. Yeah.
England.
Imagine how difficult it would be to be a jeweler.
You have to wait for your glasses to come from England. All right. So anyway, they get to the museum that night. Coincidentally, tonight is also a full moon. Fucking no sense. Yesterday was a full moon. Tonight is a full moon.
Sometimes there's multiple full moons in like a row, 3 days of the full moon.
That is not a thing. Fred is trying to get into the rear entrance, and he's like, "This place is locked up tighter than a drum." That's literally what he says.
I'm sorry. Wait. I have something to say. I missed it. I have one note here about all of this stuff that we've said before.
Mm-hmm.
Velma drops a great line when she reveals that the glasses are only made in England. She says, "Hold on to your hula hoops."
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. I think I audibly groaned.
What do you mean you groaned?
That is not a good line.
I'm gonna start using that in real life whenever something shocking is about to be revealed.
The title of this episode is going to be "Hold on to your hula hoops."
I hate this.
Hold on to your hula hoops. We're talking Scooby-Doo.
Fred's like, this place is locked up tight. No wonder. It's evening. They don't want people to come in, right? You're breaking and entering, Fred.
It is a museum. There's valuable stuff in there.
Yeah, you're breaking and entering.
They're returning Scooby's stolen glasses.
So they're like, Shaggy's gonna go up through this window. This window is like super high up. So what does Fred do? He pulls this fucking big ass ladder out of the mystery machine, and it's not like a ladder that like pops up or unfolds or anything. Oh no, sir. No, this is just a big ass one ladder, like a straight up ladder type thing. It's still not big enough, by the way. Like, it's still not tall enough for Shaggy to reach. So what does Fred grab? He grabs a car jack. He grabs a car jack and he just like cranks it, and it's still not enough. So then we find out that Shaggy is a gymnast. He's the best gymnast at the school. So he swings in to this tiny ass window, and they have volunteered him to go into the tiny ass window because he's the thinnest. So he swings in through this tiny ass window, and you just hear a bunch of crashing and smashing, and then you see him in a pile of, I'm sure, priceless and expensive artifacts that have just been fucking broken by this man because he decided to break and enter. Also, by this point, just as a note, the laugh track has pissed me off.
Oh my god.
The laugh track has fully pissed me off because I know when I'm supposed to laugh. You don't have to tell me when I'm supposed to laugh by adding a laugh track.
I like the laugh track.
Do you really? You're a fool. You're an absolute fool.
I thought it was cute.
For the first like minute.
I like the laugh track. I like the fucking stupid sound effects.
Anyway, I guess Shaggy lets them in. We don't really see them. And he walks past this little statue guy that has eyes that move back and forth, which is a common thing in Scooby-Doo. And you're like, oh, somebody's in there. Somebody bad's in there. The gang splits up. Fred's like, me and Daphne are going to go this way to make out. He doesn't actually say make out, but we all know what he's doing. And then Shaggy and Velma leave on their own. And Fred's like, Scooby, you're going to stay here and stand guard. And he's like, I don't want to. And he's like, would you do it for a Scooby snack? And he's like, no. 2 Scooby snacks. And he's like, okay, I can do that. He's standing guard. He's actually doing very well. He goes back and forth a lot, like a good guard dog. But he gets spooked. He gets spooked by his own shadow, I believe, and runs right into Shaggy, of course, and fully knocks this man down. If Waffles were this big, Hannah, if your dog were as big as Scooby-Doo, I imagine...
If I had a Great Dane.
Yeah, I imagine that Waffles would also knock you down as well.
And I think a Great Dane running at full speed will knock anyone down. I don't know about The Rock. We might have to test out that theory.
But Shaggy's like, Scooby-Doo, you can come. Then we cut to Daphne and Fred in the museum, and they're in the sarcophagus room, but a hand is like closing one of the sarcophaguses. Ooh, so sneaky. Cut back to Shaggy, Scooby, and Velma, and Shaggy is like, man, I'm closing the blind because that full moon makes that night go crazy. And this is the first reference we get of the fact that it's also another full moon, which pissed me the fuck off, and it pissed my mother off. Velma and Scooby-Doo somehow lose Shaggy. I don't know how. Literally, he walks past them, and then 2 seconds later, literally, it's the same shot. He walks past them, and 2 seconds later, oh no, we lost Shaggy. No, walk forward, you dumbass. They're sneaking around, they're doing things, and Scooby's teeth start chattering. So Velma pulls out this handkerchief from seemingly fucking nowhere and wraps it around Scooby-Doo's mouth because he can't stop his teeth from chattering unless he's holding them, and he can't walk if he's holding his mouth closed because he's a dog and they walk on 4 legs.
Insert laugh track here.
Insert laugh track, yes. So they're sneaking around, and the knight sneaks behind them as they're sneaking around, and Scooby taps on Velma, and he's like, hey, you should probably look at this. And instead she doesn't. So he knocks into her, and of course, what happens? Do you guys want to take a guess what happens when Scooby knocks into Velma?
She loses her glasses.
Yeah, she loses her glasses. And this is the first case. And she goes, now look what this dog did. She calls him a dog. Which
he is a dog.
Yeah, but seems rude.
No.
We're not at a dog where yet.
Yeah.
We're not there just yet.
Yeah, but seems rude. So
you're right. He's just a baby. He's a little pupper. He's a baby.
Well, since she tripped while she was searching for her glasses, the knight tripped over her and ended up in a stockade. Stuck in a stockade.
How did the knight not see her?
I don't know. All right. But
Mhm.
he starts doing like a roar thing where he's like, ah, ah, and she's like, oh, Shaggy, because she thinks it's Shaggy because she can't see without her glasses. She's like, oh, you should have taken care of that cold. Good thing I brought your medicine. She pours this medicine into a spoon, and then the actual Shaggy shows up and gets the medicine put in his mouth.
Where was she keeping the medicine?
I
On
don't
the
know.
spoon.
And the handkerchief. I don't know.
The
I
handkerchief
honestly,
could have just been tucked in her waistband.
I don't know, Hannah. I do not know.
She's,
But
she's wearing a fanny pack. You just can't see it.
Okay,
but
cool.
what's really interesting to me is when she's giving the medicine to Shaggy, like when we see Shaggy come back, her glasses are back on, but the knight's still in the stockade. She should have seen the knight in the stockade. Then we have a cute little gag where Scooby-Doo finds the fossil, the dinosaur fossils, and he takes a bone and he makes one of the dinosaur fossils just completely crash down. Don't worry, he fixes it. He fixes it by throwing it behind him and it just miraculously lands together. But that's once the knight catches him, right? The knight sees him and they go on a fun little chase again. We cut to Shaggy and the gang. Shaggy's like, I'm telling you, the knight was alive. And Velma and Fred and Daphne are like, if only we had a clue, because I don't know if we believe you yet. So Scooby-Doo comes back and he runs back to Shaggy and Scooby and knocks Shaggy over past them, I guess. And they notice there's a picture missing from the wall. And then they say, we better tell the others. Either he super flew all the way down this hallway, so far down that they can't see each other, or I don't know. It didn't seem like that big of a deal, but I guess it was.
Well,
So
I assumed they were in a different room. Like they got pushed through a doorway.
he calls the gang back, and guess what? The painting's back there, and they're like, "Man, Shaggy, what do you mean there was a painting missing? Doesn't look like a painting missing to me." Untrustworthy friends. Bullshit. If I tell you there was a painting missing, there was a painting missing. And then they're like, Daphne's like, oh, is that blood? That might be a clue. So Fred, of course, touches it. Germs. That's gross. Don't touch things that may be blood. He touches it and it's just like, it's paint. Look. And he's like, the trail of it leads down the hallway. And they walk past the statue guy again. And it leads them to the sarcophagus. Remember the hand that closed the sarcophagus? It leads them. Fred and Shaggy open it and they find this hidden room, right? It's a secret room filled with a bunch of paintings. And you see somebody is painting a duplicate of one of the famous paintings. They're like, those two paintings are exactly alike. But they don't say that right off the bat, that like, oh, somebody's counterfeiting paintings. They're like, no, I understand. This mystery is close to solved. So Daphne's like, let's take this back way out. And of course, the door that she opens, the knight is there. And Shaggy says, leave it to Daphne to open the wrong door, which cue a laugh from me that didn't need prompted by the laugh track because she always does open the wrong door. The knight chases them. He punches through a painting, which I hope that painting was a counterfeit painting and not the actual painting. And Shaggy's like, Scooby-Doo, help. So, of course, Scooby-Doo, he runs off screen. He comes back in like this painter's garb with like an easel and stuff and a palette. And he squirts some paint on the on the canvas and then squirts it in the knight's face and then runs off. And then of course they have the fun little chase scene, right, that they always have. Shaggy and Scooby trying to sneak out in a bear rug, but the knight catches them and it doesn't work out, so they keep running again. Finally, they're hiding in the relic room. Fred, Daphne, and Velma are hiding in a tank, but Shaggy and Scooby are hiding in a plane. A plane that is hung up in the air.
How big is this museum that it has room for a full T-Rex skeleton,
Oh,
a
wait, I am
tank,
not
and a
done.
hanging plane?
I'm not done. Then Shaggy's like, maybe I'll use my ventriloquism bit. If I can throw my voice and make it sound like it's coming from the other room, he might leave. So he says something like, help, let me out of this pot or whatever. And the pot in the other room. And I guess that tricks him, right? So he leaves and Scooby-Doo laughs. But as he laughs, he switches the on button onto the plane, which this plane has been hanging up I don't know how long. How does it have fuel? Also, in order for a plane to get momentum, it has to be on the ground. It shouldn't have been hanging. But whatever, the plane is going and they're flying an airplane in this museum. That's how big this museum is. The airplane's going. Scooby finds like an aviator hat in the plane. So he puts it on, of course.
So like,
Last thing that made me laugh, Fred, Daphne, and Velma are looking at all of this through the lid of the tank, right? And as soon as the plane goes off, they're like, nah, I don't want to see this. And they close the tank lid and go back into the tank. So they chase the knight into the other room, but they lose the wings of the plane when they do that. So the plane is going still, but has no wings on it. And it looks like they're going to crash. Scooby-Doo pulls up on this lever, which this thing has no wings, so I don't know how this works. Pulls up on a lever and they go upside down, but then they come back right side up, same way as before, and they crash into the night. And they finally done it, and we find out it's the curator, Mr. Wickles. His name is Mr. Wickles. And then the police show up and they're like, man, we gotta hand it to you. We never would have suspected him as an art swindler. And he said that him and his gang, I guess this man has a gang, were smitching out paintings in the museum, the real ones for fake ones. And they had to get rid of the professor because he's the only one who could have spotted the fakes. This man is a professor of archaeology. He doesn't give a shit about paintings. But of course, we don't know where the professor is, right? But do we remember that statue that they kept walking past? They remove it, and the professor is there tied up and gagged. It wasn't him hiding in the statue, the Mr. Wickles. No. It was the professor tied up there, hiding in plain sight. And of course, Scooby-Doo is sitting, and he's dressed up in the night costume, and he does something like, ooh, and it's like, oh no, he's alive. He's actually alive. We find out it's Scooby-Doo, and he says, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, and that's the end of the episode. Was that a good?
You seem like you enjoyed yourself. So
I did. I mean, it was okay.
Frankie, how is this case holding up in court?
I'd like to say the police totally came there and were like, hey, thank you for solving this, even though nobody asked you to. But you also did a couple $1 million in damages, and that's not even including the plane. So, yeah, you're under arrest. We're going to book you too.
yeah, also the case isn't holding up very well because unless they get a confession, all of the evidence was illegally obtained. Like all of it.
Why?
Well-
Just because they broke and entered?
Just because they broke in to a museum? Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I think there are better ones out there. I think they could have. This was a weak one to start off the series with, but I guess I'm wrong because it garnered a lot of attention from what Frankie read. So,
And the Black Knight's one of the most iconic.
probably because it's the first one.
I know, but
I think this one is like at the top of the mid category. Like it's number one in mid.
No, I would say it's mid. It's so mid that it's mid. It's super mid.
Well, are we ready to see how the last Scooby-Doo episode holds up? Season 2, episode 8. Don't fool with the Phantom. The official synopsis is that during a dance contest, a wax phantom steals a safe full of money. So our episode begins with the Johnny Sands dance game show, and Fred and Daphne are on stage dancing, and they have one move. And I don't even know what the move is. It's not the twist. It's somehow lazier than the twist.
they're making candy. What do you mean?
Okay, cool.
You just start making candy on stage.
Scooby and Shaggy are up next with their own dance that they created.
They're the ones that make candy, sorry.
I was gonna say, Fred and Daphne are just, I don't know, moving back and forth. They have one move, and it's not great. But Scooby and Shaggy have come up with their own dance called the Tummy Twist.
Okay.
I thought it was the toffee twist.
I don't know what it was. I replayed it like 5 times, and I couldn't understand exactly what they were saying. But Scooby and Shaggy enter the stage with what looks like pizza dough, and they basically circle it around each other until the dough is wrapped around them like a pretzel, and they can eat it. So we get this joke from Velma, who's just sitting like right off stage with Fred and Daphne and a man who we meet named Mr. Stevens, who is the station manager. Velma says that Scooby and Shaggy may eat their way out of the contest. And Mr. Stevens says Shaggy and Scooby may win. But before that can happen, lights go out. Pandemonium. The lights come back on, and there's this glowing, monstrous figure standing over them. The lights go back out after like 5 seconds, and there's more pandemonium. And when they come back on again, there's no giant figure looming over them. But literally, the whole set, the whole station is destroyed. Velma says that the show's host, Johnny, is famous for publicity stunts, but she goes on to say that destroying his studio is kind of too much even for him. And then we hear this voice call out for help. And I don't know how far away they're going. They travel to an office. The office is also destroyed, and the host is seen tied up to a chair. Note that there is a safe in the corner that's been cracked open. So as they're untying Johnny, Velma calls him out about the publicity stunt, but Johnny says that what happened was not him. He then gives us some lore about our possible villain. He says that what we saw on stage was the Wax Phantom, and whoever he is has been sending threatening notes to the studio for like the past week or couple weeks. Years prior to the events of tonight, there was a wax figure maker named Grimsby who was set to appear on the show, but then his segment got canceled. And Grimsby swore revenge and said he would bring a wax figure to life to destroy the studio.
I'm glad his segment got canceled. Who wants to watch someone make a wax figure?
Yeah, seems boring.
Well, the gang goes on to realize that the station manager, Mr. Stevens, is missing, and that the safe I told you about earlier has been opened. So Scooby then proceeds to find some wax footprints on the floor that lead to a window. This window is like 10 stories up. He can't like just have jumped out the window. Like, where did he go?
Well, you could say he melted away.
I mean, I guess that's kind of what they're alluding to, but I have issues with this being like 10 stories up. So the gang is like, okay, we're going to call the police. But according to Johnny Sands, they can't call the police because the station is in financial trouble. And this bad publicity may cause the station to close.
I don't know, man.
The logic is
Flawed?
the math ain't math in here. But that's okay, because we have Mystery Inc. on our hands. So it's up to the gang, and that means they have to split up. Want to guess how they split up?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, Fred and Daphne,
Oh, wow.
no surprise there. Fred and Daphne head to the Wax Museum. And Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby go to interview Grimsby, the wax figure maker.
That's just a creepy ass name.
Oh, well, it gets better because the creator, this figure maker, lives in a creepy ass haunted Victorian mansion, as is normal in whatever world Scooby-Doo takes place in.
Dope.
It gets worse because when we see Grimsby, he has gray skin, white hair, Victorian garb, and tells Shaggy, Scooby, and Velma to be quiet because there's a cemetery nearby.
He sounds sexy. I know what you're talking about.
Who sounds sexy? Say who? Grisby.
Yeah,
Grimsby
totally.
with the wax figure maker.
The creepiest man to exist.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Hey.
inside his house.
I want to
It gets-
spoil something real fast. He's
Go for
not the villain of the episode,
Oh
but
no.
he's definitely committed a crime.
Oh.
This man has committed a crime of some sort.
There is a skeleton in his house.
What if he's
Honestly,
talking
that one
about
kind of
waking
fits.
the dead and there's a cemetery nearby? Either that or he's just stealing bodies.
I think it's that. I think he's Brave Robin.
He's like Ed Gein.
So his house on the inside looks like some haunted house that you see during Halloween. There's a skeleton sitting, and I think it's supposed to be like an electric chair. There's like a cauldron in the fireplace. There's a bunch of like old like books that are supposed to look like spell books with an owl or a raven sitting on them. He has a crystal ball. I mean, a vibe. But he is a massive red herring, because this episode is a little different and it gives us a red herring. But we're not done with Grimsby just yet, because he knows that the studio was attacked tonight because he saw it on his crystal ball.
Which he then starts vigorously rubbing.
He then says he brought the wax phantom to life via black magic.
He admitted to the crime. Let's get him.
So Velma says, we need to get the hell out of here. And they run out.
She says, quote unquote, we need to get the hell out of here.
Pretty much. She's like, we gotta warn Fred and Daphne. But she's like, no, we need to get out of here before we're killed. So we now go to the wax museum.
I'm not dying today.
Yeah, she's the smart person in the horror movie and says, I'm leaving. No. You want me to stay in this weird, almost abandoned Victorian mansion that looks like it's about to fall apart at any minute? Nope. Nope. I'm getting back on the Vespa, which I forgot. Fred and Daphne took the mystery machine. The other three took a Vespa out of the back of the mystery machine and drove that to Grimsby's house.
They should use the Vespa more often.
Is the mystery machine just Mary Poppins' bag?
Yeah. It's just as big as it needs to be.
Yeah. So we now go to the wax museum. The wax phantom is inside. Daphne and Fred enter. Because it's just, this time we don't have to break and enter. The door's just unlocked.
Bad security.
They just enter through the front door, and the wax phantom locks them in and then attacks them. We don't know what happens because then Shaggy, Scooby, and Velma arrive and realize they're locked out. So Velma says, would you do this for a Scooby snack? And she offers it to both Shaggy and Scooby this time.
Ooh. The first
They do
offering.
Remember when they gave out they made Scooby snacks?
Yeah, I do.
And they were just fucking graham crackers? What a ripoff.
Well, they had cinnamon on them.
Yeah, they still have like the Scooby-Doo dog bones, but they're not the snacks. Like they don't look like the snacks.
Yeah, but they sold them for us to eat. I don't care if dogs are eating Scooby snacks. I want to eat Scooby snacks.
What even is the Scooby snack?
We don't know.
Apparently it's just cinnamon graham cracker.
It's better than like the weird anchovy pie that they get offered in one episode.
I would never do the things they do for a cinnamon graham cracker.
A chocolate chip cookie?
That's a little better, actually. I might for a chocolate chip cookie.
Okay, I'll get my dad to make you some. So Scooby and Shaggy get offered their Scooby snacks, and they break in through a window. Once inside, they do let Velma in, and then they all run into the wax phantom and proceed to run away. Velma runs into Daphne and Fred, ruining their makeout session, while Shaggy and Scooby end up in a sarcophagus, because there's always a sarcophagus. Velma is able to find a clue, and it's a pretty big clue, because it is an airline ticket to South America, and it's like for that night.
My man Fred really had to sound out South America. In that, he paused. He really had to figure that one out.
I thought he was supposed to be the smart one of the boys.
Man, it took him a while to read South America.
I missed it. I'm so glad you caught it, though. So the next clue is an empty display for the wax phantom.
Which, can I just say, we've seen the wax phantom now many times.
He's pretty big.
What a shit display. It's just a pile of wax in a vaguely human-esque, like humanoid shape.
Yeah.
You see all those detailed ones, and then you come up to the wax phantom, and you're like, what, they have a bad day at the office? What's going on?
It's like if Bigfoot was covered in wax, and then they also sawed his feet to normal size.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Scooby and Shaggy have managed to find food, but it's wax because we're in a wax museum. While our other three characters manage to fall into a trap, which I'm not sure why a wax museum just has a pit.
Because
like, who was this pit for? Why? Is this their security system?
Yeah, it's just for children who are wandering about. Stop.
It's for those random teenage mystery solvers who wander in to solve mysteries after they break and enter.
Yep.
So back to Scooby and Shaggy again. The Phantom finds them, and then he says they're going to join his wax family. So fucking dark.
Yeah, that's a little dark.
That's
For
very
sure.
dark. He says, I'm gonna boil you alive in some hot wax. That's horrible. That's a horrible way to go.
Yeah, the knight wasn't trying to kill them. It didn't
Oh no,
seem
this
like.
man just goes, I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna be wax dummies.
Well, think about it. These people, I'm sure they've been in the news a bunch of fucking times. This guy's like, they're gonna be some meddling kids. I'm gonna fucking take them out.
Okay, but wax? Can't he just throw them in the pit and
No,
leave?
No,
no.
because they're not dead.
Yeah,
They
they
need
could
to be
escape,
dead.
and they
Hannah.
did escape.
Yeah, they have to be dead.
Well, lucky for Shaggy and Scooby, they managed to escape. And now it's time for some jokes because they enter the upside down room and think they're on the ceiling.
Me
There's-
too. I've been that high before. I'm sorry, are we not making the high jokes? I know he's not supposed to be a stoner, but it's really fucking funny.
They did eat wax fruit. So I think at this
Interesting.
point we can say they might have been a little high.
Well, I'm sure those fumes and the wax creating thing weren't doing anybody favors.
I
Does
don't
it
think
have
they would help.
fumes?
It's gotta have some fumes.
Yeah, I
Some,
mean,
but I don't think it would be that bad.
I don't
Oh
know.
no,
This
maybe
is-
in the 70s. I don't
I
know.
was gonna say this is the 70s. There probably is lead in that wax for all we know.
That's a fair point. So Shaggy and Scooby exit the upside down room after crawling around the room. Like they crawl from the ceiling floor to the floor ceiling and back again.
And defy gravity.
Yeah. And they exit like through what would be the top of the door, if I'm not mistaken. They're exiting upside down is what I'm trying to get out.
Yeah,
And
they get out. They get out though.
they get out, but they're caught by the wax phantom. So then we cut to Velma, Daphne, and Fred. And Velma manages to find a clue in a hole in the wall because she found a secret panel switch and finds a duffel bag of cash in the secret wall panel. Because remember, someone robbed the station.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're in financial trouble, so they can't call the cops because it's bad press. The math still ain't math in here, folks. But it's okay, because Velma is a genius and makes the math and finds another secret hidden door. She like stamps her foot on the ground, hits a button, and a door opens in the pit. And they go through this like tunnel and they look out of a vent in the wall because they hear Shaggy and Scooby. And Shaggy and Scooby are tied up in the waxworks room, being pushed on like a dolly by the wax phantom, who's about to make them become wax dummies. He's gonna send them into the wax bath pit. Again, hella dark. Truly some of the darkest Scooby-Doo Where Are You ever got was this episode.
I will say the Wax Phantom is very like he's given some like he's talking to them a lot. Why did he just keep moaning other times? Like it's just very weird.
Yeah, he's giving. I don't know. I was gonna say he's giving some Jeffrey Dahmer vibes,
He
But
is
instead
giving
of-
serial killer energy.
but instead of acid, like Jeffrey Dahmer used, it's
Wax.
it's wax.
It's lead wax. Danger-prone Daphne then proceeds to fall from her vantage point through the vent in the wall. And as she falls, she manages to pull a lever that's connected to a piece of rope that I don't know what the rope's connected to exactly, but her weight on this rope manages to pull the lever and reverse the conveyor belt. Where
Pull the
Shag-
lever, crunk. I'm sorry, I had
We're
to.
not there in your Disney series yet, Amanda.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Okay, fair. So Shaggy and Scooby like fly off the conveyor belt and knock over the Phantom. And you would think at this point we're ready to unmask, but you're wrong because it's chase scene time. But not like the proper chase scene where the whole gang's like running through a hallway of doors. We don't get that. We get Scooby and Shaggy dressed up in some early 19th century garb, pretending to be wax figures. Shaggy's in drag, and he hits the wax phantom with a parasol. And then we do our bit where we hide behind something we shouldn't be able to hide behind and move it and pretend we're invisible. This time it's a clothing rack. The Wax Phantom once again finds them, but they manage to get away, and we reunite with the rest of the gang. And after our chase scene, it's now time for traps. Fred's plan is to just simply trap the Phantom in the waxworks room under the wax shower and spray the Phantom with more wax. After Scooby and Shaggy act as bait and bring the Phantom back in.
Why are they always bait? That's just mean.
Well, Shaggy is the athletic one.
No excuse.
Okay, well, a dog can run a lot faster than a human can.
All right, fair.
And Shaggy can run as fast as said dog.
Also fair?
But they don't think it's fair. Because they say, we're not going to be your bait. But then they end up being the bait. Kind of accidentally. But the plan works, as always. Except for one tiny detail. Shaggy and Scooby also get covered in the wax.
They should have died. They're dead.
They should have died. So should the Wax Phantom.
Well, he was covered by a layer of wax.
Like a suit. I mean, I guess technically he is in a suit. But yeah, Shaggy and Scooby should have had their horrible death be a wax. And it would not have been pretty. So our cops come, because at some point we have called the cops and told them, hey, we broke and entered into another building and probably wasted thousands of dollars worth of wax. Can you come and take our villain? But we want to unmask him first once you arrive. So we chisel out Shaggy and Scooby, who are unharmed, even though they should be dead. And then we get to the Wax Phantom. Place your bets for who our villain is.
I forget names already.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. I know who it is. Like I know who it is, but not the name of the dude.
Well, it's not our red herring Grimsby, despite saying he brought the Wax Phantom to life via black magic. And it's not Johnny, who loves a good publicity stunt. It's Mr. Stevens, the station manager.
Ah.
Stevens embezzled money and used the story of the Wax Phantom as his cover, and he was going to escape with the funds to South America.
That little bitch.
And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids and their dog. So that was the end. Oh, Scooby-Doo, where are you?
That's the end of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? What do we think about it? What do we think about this as like the beginning?
So I'm gonna be honest, the first time I watched this episode was only earlier this year. Like I had by myself, before we started our podcast, had found the full series of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You online, and like just for nostalgia, like rewatched everything. And I got to this episode and I was like, I don't remember this. I never had watched it before. Like it had never been on during reruns.
Probably because it was dark.
I mean, I feel like realistically we someone at Cartoon Network probably went, we can't show the wax shower death.
But does he actually die?
Well, they don't die, but still the implications of I'm gonna make you into a wax dummy compared to the rest of the show.
I guess. I don't know. There were some weird ass things. You ever watch Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Yes, that show gave me nightmares as a kid.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
god, I fucking love that show. That was one of my favorite shows. I did not.
See, I would always want to watch it, but then be like, I'm gonna have nightmares.
I loved the guy who's like naughty. That one, the one that with the creepy ass smile, and the Return the Slab dude.
I really liked these episodes. I like the way Scooby-Doo Where You Start. It's got nothing on the two shows that I watched more as a kid, which are What's New Scooby-Doo and A Pup Named Scooby-Doo.
Fuck yeah, a pup named Scooby-Doo.
But
It's
I don't know.
Classic.
It just there's going to be a point I know in the show where I'm gonna say things that I'm gonna hate something I'm pretty sure you guys like. But this just feels like Scooby-Doo, and there's a point in time in the middle between I want to say when we get to the Scrappy-Doo stuff, and until we get to Zombie Island, where it just stops feeling like Scooby-Doo.
Well, they're just pumping it out for money at that point.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But there are some of the episodes that just don't feel like it. Or not the episodes, but like the movies later on that just don't hit me the same.
Yeah. Do you think we're kind of watching Scooby-Doo, Where Are You with our nostalgia glasses.
Definitely. But
But I-
it just felt good to watch, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt like comforting.
It's very simplistic. It's very formulaic. You know all the beats, but at the end of the day, it's like an old friend you haven't seen in a while.
Amanda, how did you feel about this?
I liked it. I liked it. I think I would have liked it better without the laugh tracks.
Oh my God, you gotta have the laugh tracks.
No, no, you don't. If somebody, I hope there's like a YouTube channel out there or somebody where somebody has just cut out the laugh tracks because that would have been great.
Let us know if you're team laugh track or anti,
I'm
or
team laugh
team
track.
anti
I
laugh
don't,
track.
I don't want to hear. I won't read anything from Team Laugh Track.
I'll read it. I'll read all of you team laugh track people. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about the laugh track.
A
All
little
about the
hard.
laugh track.
I don't think we can compare really how this holds up in the grand scheme of Scooby-Doo. At least not tonight, because we have only covered
Not tonight.
Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Yes. But it is iconic, and it leads to, obviously we're not gonna cover all of them, but it's got like the villains that everyone remembers.
Mm-hmm.
It has the creeper.
It has the creeper. It's got the Black Knight. It's got Captain Cutler's ghost. It's got the
Mhm.
ghost clown. It's got the green ghost. It's got the minor 49er.
Charlie the robot.
Charlie the robot. The
It has
space kook.
Dracula and the werewolf.
The witch doctor.
Which one? There's like 3.
The tiki mask one. The zombie it's just called the zombie. Stupid name, but Redbeard's ghost. The green ghosts. The two like twin ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it leads to the best, or not the best, but it leads to more bigger, better things. It leads to new shows. It leads to what will be the next time when we talk about Scooby-Doo, the new Scooby-Doo movies.
We'll be talking about those in 4 weeks.
Yeah, but it leads to the new Scooby-Doo movies where Scooby-Doo is a pop culture icon all his own, interacting with other pop culture icons of the day, like the Harlem Globetrotters, and for Amanda's benefit, Batman and Robin.
Don't forget Sonny and Cher and Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah. So Scooby-Doo cements himself, and realistically, think about this. This is the last episode of Scooby-Doo until the new Scooby-Doo movies. It's only a little over a year. September 13th, 1969 to October of 1970.
There's not that many episodes, but I'm surprised it covered that long, over a year.
Well, with that, are there any last thoughts we want to provide before we move on to wrapping up the episode? All
We
right.
love Scooby-Doo here.
We do.
We do.
So next time you hear about Scooby-Doo, like I said, we will be covering the first episode. We'll be covering 2 episodes of the new Scooby-Doo movies. When I looked at these episodes, I chose the ones that people seem to cite as 2 of their favorite ones. So we have the dynamic Scooby-Doo affair, which is Scooby-Doo and the gang with Batman and Robin.
Amanda will be covering that one.
I will be covering that one.
And the mystery of Haunted Island, which is Scooby-Doo and the gang with the Harlem Globetrotters. And I'll be covering that one. So we'll cover 2 episodes of the new Scooby-Doo movies. But our next episode will be uploaded on Wednesday.
Wednesday, January 17th, to be exact.
It's Wednesday, January 17th. So in 3 days, you'll be getting a new episode. And then from then on, we'll be uploading every single Wednesday. Hopefully. There might be some weeks where something doesn't come out, but that would only be
Probably holidays.
That's what
holidays come up, or
Mhm.
something comes up that we can't get around to editing.
Mhm.
But Hannah, you will have the next episode.
Yes, I have the reins back for next week, and I've already told Frankie and Amanda what we're doing because they have to prepare in advance.
Did you?
I told you 2 weeks ago,
That's too much advance notice for Amanda.
Yeah.
apparently, but I had to give you guys advance notice because I need you guys to make stuff.
Oh, that. Oh, God.
Yeah, so all I'll say about Wednesday's episode is that TikTok made me do it.
TikTok made you do it.
Yep.
Can I not show up? Can I opt to not show up after that?
You did
That
not
better not
part
be.
you did
that
not
better not-
participate in my last episode. You have to participate in this one.
Technically, I did participate.
You did not do your homework.
I was on vacation.
You had a week before that.
That's true.
No,
That
I
is
didn't.
true.
I'm never
That
gonna
is
let you live it down.
I left on Tuesday.
So
She had 2 days.
I had 2 days. That's so much time.
you did not get to experience life of luxury, and for that I am salty.
You can be salty. I'm fine with that.
You
I'm
didn't
gonna make you
experience.
watch it at a party.
You
I
didn't
experienced
experience
it.
life of luxury, so now
Yeah.
you'll never experience a life of
Mhm.
luxury.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's take care of some business then. Remember to follow or subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you're listening to this. Leave us a review of 5 stars. If you want to leave anything that is not 5 stars, email it to us, along with any questions or ideas that you have for the show, any comments you have about any episodes that we've done already. And that email would be
Nothing to see here podcast at gmail.com. As always, remember here is spelled HEAR.
and remember to follow us over on Instagram.
Yes, follow us on Insta at Nothing to See Here Pod.
Share this with your friends, your family. Leave us playing for your pets when you leave the house.
Especially this episode if you have a dog.
Dogs love Scooby-Doo.
They need to have their role models, and Scooby-Doo is the best role model.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Secret sat with me and watched Scooby-Doo with me.
We're not
Just
saying-
listen.
We're not saying cats can't enjoy it, but cats have so many role models already as well.
Mhm.
Salem,
The Thundercats.
She-Ra, it's adjacent, but you know.
Mhm.
They have the ancient Egyptian goddess Bast.
They just got Egypt in general.
They do have Egypt in general. To this day, they have Egypt.
They own Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Egypt's run by a cat, if you didn't know.
That's a lot of role models.
Dogs have Air Bud and Scooby-Doo.
And Air Bud's just a jock.
He's still a role model.
Yeah, but we don't know what he's been up to.
So they just have Scooby-Doo, is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It sounds like what he's saying.
Thank goodness. Someone check on Air Bud.
I think that's it. That's all we have. Like I said, this is our last daily episode. We're moving to Wednesdays weekly. So if you're wondering why tomorrow there's no new episode, that's because you won't be getting one till Wednesday, and then after that it will be uploaded every Wednesday for you
You
to
only
enjoy.
have a few days to wait.
Yeah.
For your next episode, though. You only have to wait 3 days.
It's not that long, and then I think you can wait a week. You don't want too much of us. That's a lot.
We have a
Believe me.
2-hour-long podcast.
It's funny because when we first pitched this idea for a podcast, we were like 30 minutes. And how that lasted.
We have too many thoughts, you know?
Too many.
We spent 30 minutes talking on our first episode before we even got to my topic.
Yeah.
Love
with
that for us.
with that being said, goodbye. We will see you on Wednesday. Goodbye. It's Frankie.
It's Hannah.
And I'm Scooby-Doo.
See, that's what we wanted at the beginning. That's all we needed. You
Uh,
ended it with it, but thank you thank you for that,
It
Amanda.
was
You're
perfect.
welcome.
I appreciate it. It was amazing.
It was
Thank you so
perfect.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.